Good morning and welcome to the Sunday service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Lake Norman. We are an open and inclusive congregation. Our members walk diverse paths, but we are united in our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of all. And we are united by our responsibility to express our faith through acts of justice and compassion. My name is Jim Price, and I've been an active member of this congregation since 2019, and I've been a Unitarian since 2012. We're staying with this format temporarily, where the music and speakers are live from various places around the state because of COVID-19. We are grateful to our Religious Education Director, Autumn Weathers, for keeping us on track and for posting a recording of this service on our website and on YouTube. During the service itself, you and the congregation will have your Zoom microphones muted. After the chalice is extinguished, we will have an after-service chat. Members, friends, and especially visitors are warmly invited to chat, to talk with our guest speaker and with each other. Regretfully, our minister, the Reverend Pat Jobe, will not be with us today. Our speaker today is Ayya Suddhamma. Ayya means venerable teacher. Bhikkhuni Sudhamma Theri was once married and enjoying a career as an attorney. When she got cancer, Ayya embraced Buddhism and years later was ultimately ordained as a Buddhist monk. She now practices and teaches from the Charlotte Buddhist Vihara that she founded in 2013. This is the second time Ayya has spoken with us, and the first time was a treat. The title for her presentation today will be Spiritual Truths, that she will share from the heart what she will find beneficial, healing, and uplifting for us today. Our opening words today are also from a Buddhist, Thich Nhat Hanh. Waking up this morning, I smile. 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live fully in each moment and to look at all beings with the eyes of love. And now Mike Alec will take us with his music into a time of worship and contemplation. Mike. When we gather as a community, we light a chalice. Our chalice lighting words today are, we light this chalice to illuminate the world we seek, In our search for truth, may we be just. In our search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. Ours is a spiritual and caring community where we find our joys amplified and our sorrows lessened. We would ordinarily take this time to share our personal joys and sorrows, but many are too personal or private for so public a space. We will revisit joys and sorrows during the chat time, and it will not be recorded. Of course, Reverend Pat is always ready to provide pastoral care. For now, we recognize and embrace all those joys and concerns that will remain in our hearts unspoken.
Hey everybody. Today I'm doing the story for all ages. Hope you can see my screen. So the story that I selected is If Kids Ran the World by Leo and Diane Dillon. All right. Let me go bigger. All right, that's better. So I selected this book for the story because of the Horcrux that the kids program is doing. Currently, we are fighting the hatred Horcrux, and we are learning how to fight it. And we're talking about fighting hatred with love. And it's kind of a funny thing, because when you think about love and encountering hatred with love, a lot of times people's default idea of love is being weak or allowing people to take advantage of you. And that's not really what I mean when I talk about fighting hatred with love. So the message that I have given with the kids is to look at love as being not just a feeling, but an energy. So fighting hatred with the force of love, the energy of love. And we talked about being a good neighbor and a couple weeks ago. And so we were talking about loving our neighbors with loving compassion. And one of the examples that I brought up was some of the UUs that have been around for a while. 2016, we were encountering as the Westboro Baptist Church came to our UUA General Convention in 2016 to protest our stance on LGBTQ+ inclusivity. And so if you're not familiar with the Westboro Baptist Church, they're actually registered as a hate group and being monitored by several organizations in the United States. And so they came to protest the UUA General Assembly. And we responded by having over 200 people outside singing hymns of love and telling them that we love them. And we had 10 youthful giant angel wings, and it was ended up on television about, just battling hatred, love. And I think that kids, they always seem to kind of have that slough off, sing a song and everything's better. So this story I'm sharing to you is a message about, just bringing that youthful energy back into the world. So If Kids Ran the World by Leo and Diane Dillon. If kids ran the world, we would make it a kinder, better place. Maybe we'd run the world in a big tree house and everybody would be welcome. We'd take care of the most important things. The food would taste delicious and it would make people healthy and strong. Kids who had extra food would help bring it to people who need it. Everyone would have a safe place to live. Bad housing would be fixed and the new housing wouldn't ruin the land or sea. No matter how sick people were, they would have medicine they needed. Everyone would laugh a lot more. Kids would have more picnics and games. and funny books and movies. All children would go to good schools where every teacher was nice and had lots of books, music, and art. Classes would be exciting and fun. More forests would be planted and protect. I can't actually read this. Hold on. This doesn't allow me to do it. I had to get out the book. I can't read it because my screen's covering it up. Hold on, folks. All right. More forests would be planted and protected. All the beaches, pools, and parks would belong to everyone. There would be no clubs or places that kept people out. Friendship, kindness, and generosity would be worth more than money. People would take care of the planet and animals and plants. Nobody would throw trash on the ground or in the ocean or make the air dirty. People would have religious freedom and nobody would touch them or call them names. Everyone would learn the happiness of being thankful. Even if they were busy, people would remember to stop to see the beauty of a sunset or rainbow. All over the world, people would feel safe with one another. People would live in peace together. No more hate. Everybody would learn how to forgive. If kids ran the world, would these things be possible? Yes, we think so, because kids know that everyone can learn to share. Kids know how to try to do their very best, and kids know that the most important thing in the world isn't for being king or queen or pushing other people around. It's love, giving it, sharing it, and showing it. And that's why if kids ran the world, we make it a wonderful place for everyone to live. Grown-ups do. Thanks. I'm going to hand it off to Ayya. Do you want to say something?
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammam Sangham Saranam Gacchami. So with that, I kind of turn over the talk so that it might be of greatest benefit to everyone who is listening or anyone who comes across a recording on a later occasion. So I want to tell you a certain spiritual truth, which is that wise attention is a most profound, fundamental aspect of any practice of spiritual development. Attending wisely, we have the possibility of developing ourselves in a beautiful way. Attending unwisely, we do not. I'll give you a very concrete example. I have a certain cat. Almost said we'll go nameless, but no. I'm going to move my camera a bit. Okay, that scoundrel right there, that big pile of fluff, he's a large cat. And sometimes I will see him, don't look if you get dizzy, don't look. Okay, safely back in place. Sometimes I'll see him turn and stare at another cat. You just see the wheels turning because he's thinking. He's thinking about what he doesn't like about that other cat. The smell, the sight, the fact that the cat's where he wants to be. And so after he stared for a moment, he'll go up and bam, The other cat will hop away. And sometimes all I have to do is just, put some object between him and what he's staring at, the kitty he's staring at, just put something between them, and he'll let it go. He'll forget about it. And what are we staring at with our own minds? We're always staring at something. And when we attend unwisely, we're staring at something that can really ruin and wreck us. I don't think it's possible for a person to do a truly evil deed without having stared in their mind in a very unskillful way for a long period of time. Well, what would be skillful to look at? Oh, there are all kinds of avenues of skill. I think, for example, if we attend to an object at the eyes or at the ears or at the nose or at the tongue, or an object anywhere else with the body, or an object in the mind, if we attend to that sense data of body or mind that brings up peace, happiness, contentment, that was a wise choice. If we attend to something at the eye or the ears or the nose or the tongue or the rest of the body or at the mind, any of these six sense bases, if we're attending to something that causes us to be agitated, irritated, grieving, lustful, hateful, vengeful, bad idea. And there are some general broad kind of categories or rules around this. For example, if you sit around staring at something that is to you inherently irritating, an object of negativity, then it's probably going to be not so great for you. This is going to be one thing that can really rouse up some ill will. If you're staring at it with the ear, or staring at it with your thoughts, or staring at it with whatever sense base. If you're focusing in on it, zeroing in on it, and allowing the negativity to build, that idea. Or let's say there's some object that brings up some kind of unwholesome feelings for you, such as I've got to have that new gadget. I want that thing that other person has. I want that person that other person has. And you stare at it, whether at the eye or the ear or any other sense space or in your mind. Have you ever suddenly needed something that you've seen someone else have, or see it on a magazine, a catalog, or a website that you'd never heard of before, but now you desperately must have it? Has this ever happened to anyone here? You come across an object that you'd never had any knowledge of, no thought of, no desire for. It didn't exist for you. And then your neighbor has one, or your other person, someone else you know has one, or you see it in a catalog, or you catch sight of it online, and something surges in your body and you've got to have it. Has that ever happened? This is a very impassive response. Okay, I see a few nods. But if you had never even heard of it, where would that desire be? Be there. If you never had any connection with it, no desire. But what people tend to do is they see it, and there's this kind of something about it. It's a little sparkly. There's something special, something in it for me. You feel there's some sort of juice in it, something in it for me. So you zero in. And then you zero in more. And then you get more details about it. And then it comes front and center. And this is what's on your mind. And all that desire is being kicked up. And you may lose perspective. You might want to have it even though that money is needed for something more for the long-term benefit, but the short-term wish is generated and stoked up. How did the wish get stoked up? By not turning away. The wish got stoked up because of unwise attention. In the Buddha language of the Buddha, the Pali language, wise attention is yoniso manasikara. Unwise attention is ayoniso manasikara. A lot of times in the old language, you just put a in front of something, like untie is to, undo the tying. Well, in front of a word can often make it the opposite. And so it goes from wise to unwise with that. So it's kind of hard to imagine an unwholesome action that doesn't start with an unwholesome state. And it's kind of hard to imagine an unwholesome state that doesn't start from unwholesome, unwise attention. So when we look at something that is unpleasant and zero in on it, then all kinds of negativity can break out in one's mind. When one comes across an object or person or action, an object, even a mental object that is pleasing, sparkly, desirable, we zero in on it, all kinds of havoc can break out in the mind around that. And so this is a little scary, maybe, because maybe we haven't considered very much about how do I attend? How do I direct my attention? What do I allow my glance to linger on, my ear to linger on, my sensor of the nose to linger on? What do I go, yum, 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 when the dessert is in the mouth? And other aspects of physicality, and what do I linger on in the mind? You might not have thought like that. So that's be a little unnerving. Like, wait, I've been doing things a certain way my whole life, and now you're telling me to attend to how I'm directing my attention. But yeah, because this is a spiritual truth. I think it goes cross religions, just a spiritual truth. Even the cat, subject to the spiritual truth. How we attend, wisely or unwisely, everything else follows from that. Everything else follows from how we attend, how we allow our attention to go, to linger. I'm pausing now because this could go in so many directions from here. There was a wish made earlier in the service to be just when searching for truth, to be loving when searching for justice, and to ultimately end up in a state of peace. I think we have to guard and be very careful with how we attend in our minds when we are doing these things in order to get those beautiful results. So let's come up with a concrete example. Let's say there's a person who did a terrible thing, and you have a particular perspective of it, and you want to push for justice in regards to this case. There is a way to attend, pulling up all the facts of all the negative things to think about this person, or to attend in a way that pull up all the positive facts about this person. And you can bias yourself, or all the negative facts about their cause, or all the positive facts about their cause. And again, bias yourself. And you can do it in a way that hate arises in the heart towards the person or the cause, or even a desire for their cause to succeed to arise in the heart in a way that causes one to hate other people. So when we find the ill will starting to gather, or when we find the bias gathering, when we find the ill will gathering, then I think that's a little bit of a warning sign that we can step back and say, how am I attending to this? Am I attending in a way that is biased, that brings up biases? Am I attending in a way that might help me have a whole picture at every step? So that is just a kind of an off-the-cuff example. How we attend, how we focus in on things can actually change things in a very remarkable way. I'll give a very strange example. Let's say you have a weakness, a dietary weakness, something that your kids have told you to stop eating, your spouse has told you to stop eating, your doctor has told you to stop eating or doing, let's say smoking or something to eat. I'll stick with eating. And yet it's just so darn delicious and you're gonna eat it. Okay, we'll eat it. But this time when you're chewing, notice not only the taste and aftertaste and scent that you're delighting in. Notice that there's a whole variety of phenomena, of sense data coming in. So it could be that the flavor is at a 10 out of 10, but the texture might be kind of a 2. And so if you advert your attention to the texture instead of that wonderful taste, suddenly that satisfaction tanks, drops. If you attend to the aftertaste, maybe it has a wonderful texture and a wonderful flavor, but the aftertaste is a little bit something, not so great. Attend to that aftertaste can ruin the whole thing. So I'm saying that just how you attend to whatever is in your mouth that was just so wonderful and delicious every other time, you can completely ruin it for yourself deliberately. Isn't that wonderful? Or on the other hand, you've been served that thing that your beloved cousin, in-law, sweet person at the church makes, who believes everyone loves it. And you know that no one could possibly like this. Like it's, oh God, no. And you're like, oh, here she comes and she's so sweet, or he's so sweet. And oh my God, here's the food. And I'll just have a small bit. I've already eaten a lot. But they give you, there it is. You've got a big old thing of it on your plate. You can attend to what is pleasant about it. So maybe the scent is trying to throw you off, but just don't pay attention to the scent. Maybe there's something about the texture that's not so bad. It might remind you of something you kind of like. So you zero in on the texture. Or maybe there was something about the after scent that actually is kind of sweet, kind of nice. So maybe the texture was the part that was unbearable, but the flavor's okay. So you zero in on the flavor and the aftertaste, and then suddenly you can get by with this thing. It may not become your favorite, but you can heartily welcome the arrival of this food. Therefore, welcome the arrival of the in-law or the cousin or that sweet person at church with full-heartedness, without that, oh God, not their favorite dish that they think I love. And you can actually get through it because of how you chose to attend. Try it out. I'm sure there'll be an occasion before long. It's that doable, even with something that you would have thought, this is just how I am. This is just who I am. I like this. I don't like that. You can change it like that in a finger snap, just by how you attend. Well, what does that mean about your son-in-law? Yep. There was a woman who came to me in great distress because she was about to have a family beach vacation with extended family that included the unbearable son-in-law. And she gave me an earful about every hateable thing about him, that many of which had unwisely been told to her by the daughter that then went back to him. So there you go. She was dreading it. She was really upset about it. And we kept talking, and she ended up making a determination that she was going to look for the good in him. So even though he was a rotten husband, actually he was pretty good with their shared kids. And even though this, actually there was this, and even though that, there was actually, and she deliberately, constantly put her attention not to all the mass of negativity, all the negative things that she knew to be true about him, that little bit that was pretty cool. There was some little bit, you know, he's human, there's something good there, right? She attended to that. And when he arrived, she surprised herself and him even more by wrapping him in a warm hug. And they actually got right chummy. Daughter was absolutely amazed. And then later, she tried to complain to her mother, but Mom, you don't understand. He's really so bad. Mom's like, don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. You're talking about my son-in-law. She had a wonderful time at the beach with the previously detestable son-in-law. How did that happen? She attended differently. She was stuck in the situation, so she might as well attend wisely. And she did. And she got an amazing result by this business of attending wisely. So we can do this in many circumstances. Now, I don't want to, I'm sorry, I just got distracted by something on the screen. I thought it was a spider for a moment. I'm sorry. I attended wrongly. Now, being who you folks are, I would imagine the first question is, but how do you develop the energy to do social justice if you're just going to turn your mind to the positive all the time, turn your mind to what is wholesome all the time? I would like to suggest that by turning the mind to the wholesome all the time, to turning the mind, attending wisely more and more consistently, what we'll actually do is cut off all the wasted energy in the negativity. And then you've got more energy with which to organize lovingly and peacefully. I don't think you're going to put yourself into a state of complacency. I have more faith in you folks than that. But rather be at peace in how you interact with the world. The Lord Buddha has some quotes in a book called the Dhammapada. If you haven't come across this little book, it's such a universal, most of the verses have such a universal reach that there are Buddhists elsewhere in the world who raise funds to buy lots and lots of Dhammapadas and put them into hotel rooms right beside the Gideon Bibles. The Dhammapada verses are little sound bites attributed to the Buddha that are usually 4-line poems. And they have a certain rhythm to them in the old language, but they still come across beautifully in English. And the very first two are absolutely brilliant. All actions, or better translation, all phenomena are led by the mind. Mind is their master, mind is their maker. Act or speak with a defiled state of mind, and suffering will follow, as surely as the cartwheel follows the hoof of the ox. And the cartwheel is made of heavy lumber in those days. So a cartwheel following the hoof of the ox is kind of an ultimate image of extreme burden. All actions are led by the mind. The second verse, all actions are led by the mind. Mind is their master, mind is their maker. Act or speak with a purer state of mind, and happiness will follow you, like your shadow follows without departing. Now, in this culture, shadow is a negative thing, but India's hot. Shade is good. So, the shading of by your body goes everywhere with you, and it's light. It's completely lacking burden. And there's even some onomatopoeia in that particular set of verses. The heaviness, the burdensomeness as part of the poem is chakkang vabahato padang, and then the light one is ayya chaya pan. I just forgot it. Anyway, it's very lilting and Sukkang anveti chaya va anapayani. It's just very smooth and so sweet. Okay, so this business of attending wisely has applications in all kinds of areas. But I think the most important aspect of it is to be monitoring your own inner world, your own inner terrain. If you don't cut off your anger until you've already hurt somebody, that was too late. If you cut off your anger when it's boiling, but you haven't acted yet, better. If you cut off your anger before it's boiling, better. If you cut off your anger when it's just some words going through your head, better. If you cut off your anger before it manifests verbally, but it's just starting to manifest a little bit physically with a little edginess, better. If you cut off your anger before it fully manifests, prior to the thought arising, even better. You can get to, with a lot of attention, you can get to where you see it like clouds on the distant horizon starting to gather. You can nip it in the bud before it gets strong. The longer you let it go, the more entrenched it gets, the harder it is to let go of it. And the same thing with greed, the same thing with jealousy, the same thing with worrying, the same thing with pride and all the other negativities. We can start to feel them as just something not quite right on the horizon. And pay attention. What am I attending to? So kind of wake up, go, oh, what's going on here? Why is this about to manifest? We can do this. It's actually quite possible. It takes a lot of work and dedication and practice, but we can get it down to the pre-thought, even pre-experience level when it's just about to gather. Normally, that's pretty hard to do. Even somebody who's getting good at it, usually needs a little more of a clue than the clouds on the horizon. Unless they've been meditating a whole lot, gotten very, very sensitive to that inner terrain. But let's say that I have caught it at a point where, let's say we're talking about jealousy. Anyone ever have jealousy? No one here's had jealousy. Okay. I made the mistake once of declaring to the world that I was over jealousy. Don't do that. Because the senior nun who had been using me as like her right-hand gal, even though we live a country apart, we're in different coasts, we were in touch a lot. She ended up going overseas with another nun. She ended up having the other nun become her confidant. And and then another travel with that other nun. And then, it hurt so much. Never say you're past anything. The world will give you a little lesson. But I digress. So let's say there's this jealousy thing. And, you might not notice it right away. But let's say your partner, let's say it's a romance jealousy, and your partner has left their phone unguarded on the table. And you're the jealous type. And that phone's unguarded on the table. And some window in it was left open, so you would have access. And they're in the shower and they wouldn't know. Okay. Now, the way that the mind is actually very tricky, can be very tricky. So what might happen could be, I'll just pick up the phone and check the weather. Or it could be not consciously noticing the phone, but start thinking about why one should be jealous. And then building up to where one pounces on the phone to try to relieve the jealousy by going through the various accounts and assuring oneself that nothing's happening. Mind is very, very tricky. So when the person who has been working with their jealousy realizes they're about to have kind of a jealous slip up, where they're going to pounce on the phone and do the thing that's they know they need not to do, then they can catch it, when their hand is on the phone, put it down. Or they could catch it when their hand is here. They could catch it when the phone is going phone, phone, phone from across the room. Or they could catch it when they're pacing around thinking about, but why did he email that person back? Why did she linger there at the store with that person? What? And then before the phone is going like this, because the subconscious had already, gotten the topic going. At any point, one can kind of snap to and say, I'm in that thing I do. Uh-oh, now what do I do? It might require actually picking up that phone, knocking hard on the bathroom door and sticking the phone on the counter there and locking the door and closing it. Knocking the knob and closing it. They're like, what? Or one can use this business of directing their attention. That one can say, okay, the phone is doing this, right? Well, how about if I not look at the phone? How about if I go look at that wonderful television program over there? How about, look, birds out the window. Look, a kitty cat right here. Oh, kitty. Like, just divert the attention to something that's not going to be putting one further into that kind of danger zone. I think you can see how this might apply across all kinds of situations. But what you don't want to do is, here's the table, here's the phone, and sit there like this. That's what you don't want to do, right? Because if you're sitting there, whether you're across the room or outside thinking about it, it's not wise attention for you at that time. Now, if something terrible had happened, maybe a fall from a ladder and somebody else's fall from the ladder, and you run in looking for a means of communication and you see the unguarded phone and you pick it up and you're calling 911, that's perfectly acceptable. That is not a mistake of your direction of attention. That would be wise attention, finding that phone and using it. There's nothing wrong with phones. But what are we doing with our attention? That's the question. Something in the scripture I was going to pick up for us. Hang on just a second. Okay. Bhikkhus, it's monks, often talking to everybody, but just addressing the bhikkhus. I do not see even one other thing on account of which unarisen ill will arises, and arisen ill will increases and expands so much as the sign of the repulsive, or this translation was the mark of the repulsive. So something that hits you as being not great. For one who attends carelessly to the mark of the repulsive, unarisen ill will arises, and arisen ill will increases and expands. Because I do not see even one other thing on account of which unarisen sensual desire arises, and arisen sensual desire increases and expands, so much as the mark or the sign of the attractive. For one who attends carelessly to the mark of the attractive, unarisen sensual desire arises, and arisen sensual desire increases and expands. Bhikkhus, I do not see even one other thing on account of which unarisen dullness and drowsiness, kind of laziness, arise, and the arisen ones increase and expand, so much as discontent, lethargy, lazy stretching, drowsiness after meals, and sluggishness of mind. For one with any of these, unarisen dullness and drowsiness arise, and arisen dullness and drowsiness increase and expand. And so on. And then he gives opposites. If you pay attention to kind of the opposite of that which would stimulate desire for, that would stimulate sensual desire, that's the mark of the unattractive. Looking at the kind of the downsides would cause it not to arise, would cause that which has arisen to be abandoned. Bhikkhus, I do not see even one other thing on account of which unarisen ill will does not arise, and the arisen ill will is abandoned, so much as the liberation of the mind by loving kindness. Loving kindness is a translation of the word metta, which is like agape love, brotherly, sisterly love. One who attends carefully to the liberation of the mind by loving kindness, unarisen ill will does not arise, and arisen ill will is abandoned. Because I do not see even one other thing on account of which unarisen dullness and drowsiness, laziness, do not arise, and the arisen ones are abandoned, so much as the element of investigation, the element of persistence, the element of exertion. For one who has aroused energy, the unarisen laziness and so forth do not arise, and that which is arisen is abandoned. And it also mentions doubt. So doubt arises due to careless attention. And when I'm talking about doubt, I'm not saying doubt like I don't know what the livelihood is of the person over there. I doubt I would know that. Not that kind of doubt, but spiritual doubt, paralyzing spiritual doubt. And it's careless attention that causes it to arise. And he doesn't see anything that helps get rid of it so much as careful attention. One who attends carefully, unarisen doubt doesn't arise, and any doubt that's there is abandoned. So those are some words of wisdom from the Buddha on that. Just another couple of bits. It's probably getting late. Because I do not see even one other thing that when untamed leads to such great harm as the mind. An untamed mind leads to great harm. Because I do not see even one other thing that when tamed leads to such great good as the mind. A tamed mind leads to great good. So we may think, when that person over there changes what they're doing, I'll be happy. When that circumstance changes, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be okay. Then things will be well. But the fact is, how we train our own minds is actually going to be what's going to allow us to have peace, contentment, happiness. And if we want peace in the world, we need to be peace. We need to be that peace we want to see in the world. You cannot follow a path of unwholesome states, unwholesome thoughts, unwholesome actions, and hope for a wholesome result. It's like planting apple seeds everywhere and hoping for orange trees. The path to the certain result has to be manifesting it all along the way. You want peace? Then every step needs to be in harmony with that. And then you can expect peace in the end. So with that, I conclude my little talk to you today.
That was wonderful. If my words did glow with the gold of sunshine, and these tunes were played on a harp unstrung, would you hear my voice come through the music? Would you hold it near as it were your own? It's a hand-me-down. All the thoughts are broken. Perhaps they're better who left unsung. Well, I don't know. I don't really care. But let there be songs to fill the air. Ripple in still water, where there is no pebble tossed, nor wind to blow. Reach out your hand. If your cup is empty, if your cup is full, may it be again. Let it be known There is a fountain that was not made by the hands of men. There is a road, no simple highway, between the dawn and the dark of night. If you should go, then who's to follow? That path is for your steps alone. Rippling still water, where there is no pebble tossed, nor wind to blow. And you who choose are to lead must follow. But if you fall, then you fall alone. If you should stand, then who's to guide you? If I knew the way, I would take you home. La da da da, la da 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 da da, la da 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 da, la da da da, la da da da.
Thank you, Autumn, for the wonderful story for all ages. Thank you, Mike, for your beautiful music. It was so appropriate for the message today. And thank you, Ayya. We understand why you're called Venerable Teacher, because you proved it today. What beautiful words. What a great day today. We are grateful for the contributions so many of you make to our fellowship. They allow us to sustain and grow our congregation and to confirm our commitment to the larger community. And you will find our mailing address in the website, the Facebook page, and in our newsletter. So please keep your contributions coming so that we can keep our fellowship strong. And now a couple of announcements. Once a month on the second Thursday from 9 a.m. until 1:30, volunteers shepherded by Jim Arnold work at Feed NC to help feed the people. If you haven't already done so, you should. It is a great environment. The work is not that hard. It's actually sort of fun. And you will leave feeling like you've just fulfilled a part of your responsibility to the principles by making the world a little better place. Autumn and the children have been working on the first principle that they've reduced to everyone is important. And in the newsletter, they list 5 things that we can all do to help achieve that. If you haven't read them, please do. They will inspire you to be a little better person and also please you to know what the children are up to. We cannot say enough good things about all the good that your children and Autumn are doing. Our closing words today are also from Thich Nhat Hanh, and they go along very nicely with what the Venerable Teacher told us today. If we are peaceful, we are happy. We can blossom like a flower, and everyone in our family, our entire society will benefit from our peace. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. Namaste, shalom, and blessed be. Please join us for our chat.